BJ Ruiz, Farm Bureau Insurance. Contact him today at 904-655-4347 if you need home, life, and auto insurance, guys. You need insurance to make sure you're covered. Auto insurance, anytime you get in an accident. Home insurance, make sure you are covered. And life insurance to protect all of your assets in case anything goes wrong for you in the future. It's on the mark with Denmark, and boy, we've had a lot of things happen today when it comes to the Florida Gators. Started off the day with 3 decommits, all 4 stars. Nick Evers was the big name, the quarterback from Texas. Chandler Smith and Jaden Gibson. When it comes to Florida, and not just Florida specifically, but a lot of these high school guys, I'm not really going to trip and panic when it comes to signing day next week, because I think signing day is next Wednesday, the 15th. Most of these guys I thought was going to come in the first year for Billy Napier is going to be all from the transfer portal. I'll speak from a very micro level, and then we can talk about Florida in a second. I coach at Baldwin. I'm around the school all the time. And I was talking with our head coach the other day, and for the people that don't know, Baldwin is a small town of 1,200 people, and the school hasn't had much success until the last couple of years. And we've had a little bit of talent come through. And basically, we had a coach come through. It was a Division II school coach. And he said, all right, I'm looking for this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. Like, it was like 5 position groups. And he said, for 4 of them, I'm looking for a transfer portal, and 1 I'm looking for high school. So at the Division II level, these guys aren't even looking for high school recruits with their open scholarships. These guys are looking for vast majority transfer portal. The same is for college. You're already seeing guys like Ricks at LSU. You're seeing guys at Ohio State, the quarterback that just hit the portal. Quinn Ewers. You're seeing Max Johnson. He just hit the transfer portal. Florida is going to make up a lot of their ground in recruiting in the transfer portal. I'm not expecting a huge splash, and this shouldn't be any surprise for any Florida fan, because Billy Napier has warned everybody and told them, I'm not going to go after guys. And this is a lot of the research that you've seen from people that have covered him at Louisiana Lafayette. They said Billy Napier is not a guy that's going to go after 4 and 5 star just because he has a 4 and 5 star next to his name. Billy Napier wants good guys. He wants great teammates. He wants people that are all bought in, that care about graduating, and not just about football. So that shouldn't be a surprise. And we saw the same thing. Remember when Dan Mullen came and McElwain left? Dan Mullen came in. Matt Corral was the hotshot quarterback. And they basically had a talk, and they decided to split. So, and I don't believe that Nick Evers is going to be a guy that was your future generational quarterback. I could be wrong, but Anthony Richardson is the guy right now. He should be the guy for the next 2 to 3 years. And, I think Florida's going to hit the transfer portal pretty hard. And we're just seeing the beginning of this. You're having your bowl game start next week. And these guys really have about till, I'd say, the first week of January to hit the transfer portal and know where they want to go. Because remember, you have your bowl games. So if your bowl games are pretty much before New Year's, you have a good chance of playing your game, then relaxing and coming to a firm decision on what you want to do. And then the spring semester doesn't start till about January 10th or 11th, right around that time. And that's when you have to get enrolled before you get into workouts and spring practice. So I think Florida's just going to go hard in the transfer portal and get a lot of guys or whatever they need to patch up, because, guys, let's be honest. Florida's team does not have a lot of depth. We're talking about a team that had Ventrell Miller at middle linebacker, got hurt in the second game of the season, and the coaching staff nearly pooped their pants because they did not have a backup middle linebacker. And they had to put Jeremiah Moon and switch all kind of guys in the front 7 at middle linebacker. That's you can't expect to compete with Texas A&M, LSU, Georgia, and Alabama when you don't have depth. It's that simple to me. So that's the recruiting factor when it comes to Florida. That was the downside, and got a lot of news. And then the news came out that Corey Raymond, LSU's assistant, who has been pretty much a lifelong LSU dude. He played there in the 90s, and he's been there since pretty much 2011. He was there in 2009. Then went to Utah State. I think he went somewhere else before he became or went to LSU as an assistant and mainly a DB coach. 52 years old, and this was a huge get for Billy Napier. This is by far and away the biggest thing that has happened to Billy Napier since he came to Florida. And the biggest thing from what I've heard from people around Baton Rouge and Louisiana, Matt Moscona, the guy that I trust the most, works for ESPN station in Baton Rouge. He said that LSU used his loyalty against him. He said Corey Raymond was getting paid about $575,000, and Bo Pelini comes in, and that wasn't really good for LSU. Remember in 2020, coming off the national title year, and there was talks that he didn't want to be a defensive coordinator, which is pretty much false. And when you're at that age at 52, for you to become a defensive coordinator at the Power 5 level, you become an assistant, and then you go to the group of 5 to be a DC, and then usually you work your way up. Corey Raymond's coming at that age where he probably doesn't want to take that risk and do that. And, he just wasn't respected financially. And LSU used his loyalty against him and thought he was just the guy who was going to stay there forever. And then in comes Florida. They'll probably pay him probably $800,000. And that goes with Napier's $7.5 million that he gets for all of his assistants. And one thing that Matt Moscona said that caused friction with LSU was when Brad Davis, a defensive coach, came in that had a fraction of experience that Corey Raymond had, and Brad Davis got paid more. And that caused that was a level of respect where he just wasn't – he didn't like it. Also considering a factor, Napier was not considered at all for the LSU job. Napier, I've been told, I've heard, should say, that he wanted to be considered for the LSU job, and LSU never gave him an interview. Scott Woodward is a big name guy. He was at Washington, got a big name, Chris Peterson. He was at A&M, wanted a big name, Jimbo Fisher. He went to LSU, offered Jimbo Fisher allegedly 13 years, $125 million. He wanted to empty the bank. He wanted to get whoever. He wanted to get Lincoln Riley. He apparently did not want to stoop down to Louisiana Lafayette. Not saying that's right or wrong. He just apparently didn't want to. And Napier didn't like that. So, that's another factor to the Florida LSU rivalry. Brian Kelly wanted to get an interview with Florida. And then Scott Strickland obviously wanted Napier, knew he was the guy from day one, and pretty much gave him the contract right away after he fired or after the South Carolina game, pretty much, and after Dan Mullen was let go after the day after the Sanford game. So that's Corey Raymond. Florida should be getting a ton of DBs. The guys, the Jamal Adams, the Eli Ricks, the Tre'Davious White, so on and so forth. About half of those guys were from the state of Louisiana. So that is a huge pull for Florida in recruiting. And Florida fans are going to have to be patient with recruiting and its coaching staff. Again, this team does not have a lot of depth. And it's going to take time. I think realistically, you're probably looking at an 8-4, 7-5 season first year for Florida. Remember, your first game, you play Utah. You're playing a decent Kentucky and Tennessee team early. Now, luckily, you get them at home. And then you play a 3-game stretch where you play LSU, Georgia, and at Texas A&M. So we'll see. Billy Napier wanted patience, and this has definitely been a big get for Florida. Getting him, and as he still fills out his staff, it looks like he's gotten half of his guys from Louisiana. We'll wait and see. I'm not going to be a person that's going to, be someone to give a hot take or a big take or whatever, because you just don't know. And a lot of these things you don't know until your second, third, fourth year. But when you've developed a staff, when you've developed players in your program, obviously has the advantage of getting the football facility. Recruiting is going to be big going forward. So it's a wait and see. I mean, how many times did you hear in the first 2 to 3 years with Dan Mullen that, Oh, Dan Mullen, look at his record against Scott Frost, or not against, but look at Scott Frost's record. Look at Chip Kelly's record. Look at Dan Mullen's record. Boy, we got the right guy. And then things change in a second, and Florida fans quickly change their mind. You've seen this right now in the NFL. Everybody, who won the divorce? Tom Brady or Bill Belichick? And the first year, oh, it's Tom Brady. And now you look up and New England's the number 1 seed in the AFC. You can't rush these things. It takes time to develop. And again, Florida doesn't have any depth, and it'll take time. So that's what's happening today at Florida. 3 decommits. Not too worried about it. Florida's gonna hit the transfer portal, and there's gonna be a ton of guys coming up that are gonna hit the portal. And Florida gets the huge get with Corey Raymond at the defensive staff.